back to MAP, Movie Amigos Podcast. This is Gila.
This is Josh.
This is Uwe.
And it's been a while since we've met. You guys know we pre-record. And today we're very excited because we're going to talk about a movie I really like. Disclaimer. I am kind of getting over a little bit of a cough. Now I'm COVID-free.
Great.
I got tested. I did all the right proper things. I'm good. But sadly, because of the drastic change of weather, I got sick. I'm doing much better, but if there's a little bit of coughing, please, I apologize if it makes you anxious.
No, if anything, it gives you that older lady sounding voice.
Oh, like
sultry.
Phoebe?
Yes.
When she's trying to sing.
Why would it make them anxious?
Coffee
That they're gonna
makes
get
people
They're
anxious.
gonna get COVID.
Yeah,
from
through the podcast. Yeah, through their ears.
Okay.
You know when you hear somebody cough, it's like automatically you're like, COVID.
Right,
It's like a thing. But
true.
no, I'm good.
Oh, also on that note, my roommates may or may not be doing laundry. So if you hear a washing machine or a dryer going crazy, it's not my stomach this time, but yeah.
Okay, great. I think that's it for disclaimers today. So we're going to talk about the amazing Little Women 2019, directed by Greta Gerwig, starring Saoirse Ronan,
Yeah.
Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Eliza Scanlon, Timothy Chalamet, Laura Dern, and Meryl Streep.
What? Okay.
Not to mention Bob Odenkirk.
Yep.
That's right.
That was a great
have
surprise.
Yeah. So honestly, this cast is amazing, and yeah, I really like this movie. So I think
this was Gila's pick.
This was my pick. We've been having just kind of our own pick, and this was mine. And I am excited to see how this goes. This is my third time watching it.
Oh wow.
So yeah, definitely came in a different light, which also allowed me to see some of the things I didn't like, which was actually really interesting. But I guess to start off, what did you guys think?
How about Uwe goes first?
All right, sure. I guess I think I'm going to be the person with the least to say about it. Not for any bad reason, just because this is my first time watching it. I went into it cold, not knowing anything about it other than, it was an Oscar, but it was Oscar buzz.
Yeah.
And Saoirse Ronan is the lead, and Greta Gerwig directed it. And I've enjoyed Greta Gerwig's works before this.
Okay.
And that was it. And so I watched it. You guys wanted me to get into it? You want
I mean, I was kind of going more for like first
impressions? Yeah, I liked it. Overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I got into. It was easy for me to get into the story, to the characters, their development. Well performed, I think. Beautifully directed.
Great.
I was not astonished, but I was like, oh wow, look, Greta Gerwig did this. That's great for her. I thought it's a really great work. So good for her. And yeah, it was
Cool.
nice.
Yeah, I thought that directing a Little Woman now is like a big task to take on. Like there's a lot at stake there, because if you mess it up, like not only are old heads from the the Civil War gonna get mad at you, but modern moviegoers are gonna get mad at you, feminists are gonna get mad at you. So it's like doing this right was really important. And before watching this, I don't know if I should have done this, but I watched Lady Bird. And then this movie directly after it. I hadn't seen Lady Bird, so it was my first time watching Lady Bird, and I did not at all like Lady Bird.
Really?
So yeah, I was like, I hated all the characters, and I was like, wow. So this is basically gonna be Lady Bird's too, huh? I was like, okay. And I went into it, and I liked it considerably more than I liked Lady Bird. In fact, I liked this film a lot. I liked it a lot, and for the things that I didn't like, which I can think of maybe like one or two, like there's so much good stuff going on that I was like, okay, great, I like this one.
Right. Wow. Well, I really like Lady Bird, so I was very
Yeah.
I was looking forward to this version of Little Women just because it's her, and I feel like her as a director, she's definitely has a career coming for sure. Like this is just the beginning. I feel like, and hoping that there's more that she will do. One of the things that I love about her as a director and as a writer is the fact that she can write women really well.
Okay.
That's the one thing I liked about Lady Bird, and that's the one thing I loved about this movie is the fact that the girls or the little women, they acted like women do. They act like my sister and I act, the way my mom and I act. And I think, to me, that's why I really like this movie. I do have, like I said, I have a couple things that I didn't love that I did catch up on in this viewing. But personally, I think this movie kind of holds a special place for me. Aside from the fact that my favorite thing is probably the cinematography for this movie.
Great, yeah.
It holds a very special place to me because, like, the first time I watched it was with my mom and my sister.
Oh, wow.
And we watched it together, and we all liked it. And I think just overall, I came at it more of a nostalgic type of way, but because it's my third viewing, I was able to really appreciate more of the technical things about it, especially the writing itself, like I said.
Yeah.
Which is something that I really look into when it comes to film.
Yeah, I know you like that. You like stories, you like characters that are like well defined and like
yes, yeah, exactly.
Direction that has good direction, and this movie had that.
And that's why I loved it. And I thought it was really good. And I mean, obviously, I don't want to get more deep into it, but that, I guess you could say I really love this movie, and it holds a very nostalgic, happy place in my heart.
That's sweet. When was the first time you saw it? Was it when it came out in theaters?
No, I wanted to go watch it in theaters, but both Josh and Misa, which is Huva's brother, I wanted to go watch it in theaters, but Misa was like, and I hope he's listening, I don't want to watch that movie. That sounds weird. And I'm like, come on, we need to watch Little Women in theaters.
Wait, but we saw 1917 though, right? Isn't that what we saw?
No,
What did
we
we
didn't
watch?
watch anything.
Oh, what? Oh, that's right. We were gonna see Cats, and no one wanted to give that movie any money. Okay.
Right.
Right. Okay, got it.
The fact that we were about to watch Cats over Little Women because of Misa, okay. But no, I actually watched it, I think last year, right? When did it come out? It was a time that my...
Yeah, it was the end of the year last year.
I remember. I watched it May something, and that was like the last day before my family and I moved away from our other apartment.
Wow.
It was the last night.
Wow, that's momentous.
And yeah, and we just watched it. I'm like, let's watch it. And that's how I watched it. And then I
Cool.
watched it again with Lisette. And then I watched it again this time around. Yeah, that's 3 times.
Wow, neat.
Which time did you like the best?
Probably the first one.
Okay.
Just because it held that special. And then this time around, I actually had to watch it in 2 different sections. Because I just didn't have time. It was in the middle of finals and work was intense. So overall, I had to watch a chunk at the beginning and then another chunk. And I actually stopped it right when Lori and Joe were having their big moment.
Bro,
that's when I had to stop it and then continue the rest.
Nice. Just
So, yeah.
cut it in the middle.
All right, but I guess we could just kind of start going more into details. Of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
We liked and we didn't like.
I wanted to mention you're talking about like the dialogue. I love the way that this movie is directed, especially compared to other period pieces when it comes to the actors like saying their lines, because you don't see a lot in period pieces. They usually do a lot where it's like, you know, Shakespeare or something where it's like doth thou window break, and then they look at each other dramatically, and it's so boring, and then the lady speaks. Here they're talking over each other. It's a lot more naturalistic than normal for a period piece, especially like the way it shows them bouncing off each other like normal people do in a conversation, or like sisters do, right? And I thought that was really, it was like it was an interesting choice that I liked a lot, because it made it feel more real, you know, like you're just a fly on the wall rather than like, oh, I'm watching a movie. I don't know.
Oh, I really like that. I like how you said that. Yeah.
There's not a lot of movie directors that do that. There are some, like who's the director of Marriage Story. He does that in a lot of his movies.
I forget. It's like a crazy name. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't see that a lot, especially in period pieces. And I thought that was cool because it made it less boring for me.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you mentioned. I think that's kind of what I meant by what I said earlier. Like, she lets women act like women, or little girls, like the way they fight, the way they argue. Like, one of my favorite scenes is when they're getting ready for the ball, and then Joe burns Meg's hair
Yeah.
with the curling iron, and then she starts freaking
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And she's
yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, my hair looks so ugly," and like all the other girls are laughing and stuff. Like that's realistic. Like that's what you would see when it's a girls' night randomly at
that's
your
cool.
house, and that's what I really liked. That was like the thing that I liked the most about this movie for sure. But what about you, Hube? What's like one thing that you feel like stood out to you?
What stood out to me? Gonna say, oh, darn it, you hit me with it.
I've got like 10 things I could possibly say. I could throw
Go
at you
while
if
I
you
think
want for
about
the
it.
assist.
Go.
Costume design.
Yes.
I thought
yes.
was outstanding. I loved, and I'm not into that. I'm not into that
It
type
did
of
win
stuff.
an
And I wrote
Oscar.
that in my notes, but I don't have my notes with me.
Oh.
It's because they're on the phone. But no, it's okay. But it's good that you helped me because that is one thing that I wrote down.
Yeah.
It did win
Custom
the
design.
Oscar.
Yeah,
for
it totally deserved it.
It won
It
the Oscar.
100% deserved the Oscar. Because every costume shows the character of that person.
Yes.
And is like it looks real too. So it's like
It doesn't. Yeah.
like they would wear that. You know what I mean? Like Joe would wear that, or Meg would wear that. You know, like being the girly girl or whatever. Like it all just fit perfectly. I thought they put a lot of effort. You could tell from the very beginning. I was very impressed with
yeah,
it.
for sure. I know I was watching like the featurette after the movie thing, and one of the things the director said was that both Joe and Laurie exchanged clothes throughout the movie. Like one scene you'll see Joe wearing a jacket, and then the next scene you'll see Laurie wearing that same jacket.
Yeah.
So they were like back and forth just to kind of prove that they are very similar.
Yeah.
So they
yeah.
did take a lot of even in the small details, like the costuming and the clothing, like they did it knowing exactly what they needed to do, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah. And I'm like, again, I'm not like super into costumes and makeup or whatever, but like I was super impressed with how they did that.
Okay, nice. So,
I was a big fan of the settings and locations.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
I was kind of impressed by it. And that comes in with cinematography. And, you know, just looked beautiful. It was nice. Like you say, it's a well done period piece.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Settings have a lot to do with that, and that was a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Like for me, one of my other things that really stood out was because a lot of this movie had to do a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
With time. I know that other adaptations have had the struggle of trying to like show the lives of them younger and then older, right? Because their story itself, it's their entire life, right? It's not just when they're young or just when they're old.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like I said, I haven't seen the other ones, so I don't know. But I did read the book after,
Okay.
and the book is very long. It's like a 40-hour audiobook.
Wow.
So the fact that she was able to take a super long book into a condensed film and make it the best that she could when it was like them younger and older, that back and forth, I thought she did a really good job. There's a couple things in that I was like, it's a little confusing.
With the time jumps, how do you feel like that served the adaptation then?
Yes, it did. Also because I really like how the cinematography in that it changed, right? When
With like the transitions between?
when they were younger, it felt warm. It felt really cozy, Christmassy, and like this like really warm, beautiful. And then when they're older, it was a lot more cool tone and a little bit more like serious. Like you could definitely feel the difference. And I know that the turning point in the timeline was Joe and Laurie's big, you know, not an argument, but their big declaration.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That I feel like that was like the shift when it comes to that's when things met, right? Well, not that actually. It was a specific scene that I don't love that scene, but anyway, yeah, I really like the different changes of tone for sure, a lot. I thought it was cool.
So that's actually one of my negatives.
Okay.
And it's not the tone, and it's not the performances.
Yeah.
It's the fact that the 7-year gap or the 7-year difference, I didn't find it convincing in the sense of like, it's the same actors. Like all they're doing is what's her name is wearing braids when she's younger, and then she has her hair in a bun when she's older.
Yeah.
That was it. And so that kind of was one of the things that helped throw me off a little bit.
Right.
But other than that, that's it. Like, I think, like I used to say, he did a really good job at trying to make it a stark difference. So, you know, different tones, and their performances, you know, you're acting more mature here, and you're acting a little more mature here.
Right.
And so, but other than that, that was the only thing. That's the only negative. But that's like something that you can't, like you say, you have to do the best you can with, and I think that she did. But it still didn't help in that way. But that's like a little negative. That's like, all right, whatever. You know. Other than that, it was done well.
Yeah, actually, I have to agree with you because my negative actually has to do two of them are my negatives in this movie. One of them would be kind of like the actors. Obviously, they did what they could, but sometimes it was a little hard to take yourself out when you see Florence Pugh act like a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
I can totally understand that because I also kind of had that issue with it. But it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna push through.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh is an amazing actress, so
She's great.
I'm
She
like,
did really great.
it'll
in
be.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be okay. And then my other issue with this movie is a hot take.
Oh.
I think Emma Watson is the weakest of all of them,
Dare you?
and
What?
I agree.
Eso es una mentira del
and
diablo.
the fact that it's funny because I don't think so either. Like I've heard other things about it. I was watching a trailer and on like YouTube, and then I looked at the comments, and one of the commentators of people said, "Wow, Emma Watson is so humble. She's okay with letting everyone else take the lead, and she'll take the second." And I'm like, "Girl, she's supposed to be a lead."
Okay.
So to
I
me,
could say the same thing about Meryl Streep.
right?
She
and-
was some side character. She was the aunt, and it's like, oh, Meryl Streep is so humble. She's only the lowly rich aunt on the side.
right,
That's
but
ridiculous.
right. I just kind of laughed because it just showed me like even people that love her didn't like they see what I see, but like for me, it's like all four of them are supposed to be equally leading, and they're almost except. Well, I guess Amy and Joe are given the most
Yeah,
screen time.
yeah.
The book, you mean?
But
not the film.
when it comes to like, I feel like even when you have a small amount, a short time on screen, like Laura Dern, right? She's not in the
Right.
scenes a lot, but when she is, like, she's great. Laura Dern is amazing in that. And then Emma Watson is one of the sisters, but even then she gets her own scenes, like when she goes and she's Daisy and she has all this dress, like.
So I want to understand in the book, all four of the sisters, they're both leading
Yeah.
their lead characters like equally.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's the thing. That's hard to translate into a movie. Like you're saying, you have a short
Right.
amount of time, so you have to have
Yeah,
the
you have
stronger
to
lead.
choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was obviously Saoirse.
Yes.
Saoirse.
Right.
Saoirse Ronan.
Miss Ronan.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, Meryl Streep, for example, she didn't have a lot of scenes either, yet she was great as Aunt March. So to me, I just feel like Emma Watson wasn't the best, and her accent really bothered me at times.
I don't know, man. Maybe
Let's
maybe
get
I
into
was
that.
just
That's actually my other negative.
the accents.
So out of all the sisters, I think that only two of them nailed with the accents, because three of them are British, or I guess not really British, but not American.
Okay,
I think.
two of them are British, one of them's Irish, and one
Irish,
of them's
right.
Australian.
Oh, the
Okay, then
actresses.
wow. So
The
then they're all
actresses.
not American.
They're not American.
Right.
So then
I thought you
I
meant
think-
the sisters themselves. I was like,
No,
wait,
the
they're-
accent. So
right,
here's
okay.
the thing. My negatives in this movie, they're all like, they feel like nitpicks. Because overall, the movie
Yeah.
is great, but I'm going to talk about the nitpicks. And the accents is one of them. For like Emma Watson and Saoirse Ronan,
Yep.
I feel like they didn't have strong American accents. Like it would bleed through. And that's not necessarily like a horrible thing. No, it's not. And they're fantastic actresses, great performers. But it's just, that's like a little thing that kind of like, it doesn't help. It takes you out of the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
When Florence Pugh's American accent is like on point the whole way through.
Yeah,
Yep, she's
yeah.
amazing.
And you're saying
I
the other
love
one
her.
is Australian.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
Which,
Australian.
yeah,
Yeah.
even though she talked the least, it's still like, wow, like I would have never known.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it didn't help where Emma Watson's
You know, maybe
American
maybe I
accent
gave
and-
it some leeway because it's like
because you love her.
no, shut up, because it's like, early America,
Right,
so it's
yeah.
like,
I would agree, but if they all had the same, if they all sounded the same, you can't have one sister have a little bit of Irish and the other one.
I don't
have a
know.
little
Sometimes
bit
you
of
see these
English.
kids, they'll watch Peppa Pig and get a British accent.
This was set
Okay.
in the Civil War, man. No, there's no Peppa Pig.
They saw real life Peppa Pig.
Oh, I see. Okay, the pigs were talking to them.
Yeah, in a British
That's
accent.
really funny.
Who they were delusional.
That's actually, yeah.
But
It's
I
with the
want
Scarlet
to
Fever.
say about the star power in the movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It opens super epic. The opening is so epic.
Yes,
where it's
I
like,
actually wrote that here. I'm like, I love the introduction.
because it's like, Florence Pugh turns
Yes.
around and it's like, Florence Pugh, and then it's like Hermione Granger, and then this other actress I don't recognize. I was like, who's that? Like, they give her a dramatic,
Yeah.
moment too, but I was like, oh, I don't recognize her.
Mhm.
But yeah, all the characters have their moment to, like, they turn around and the camera zooms in and it's like, that's Hermione Granger.
Right.
And then I was like,
You were gone?
yeah, that. So I was like, oh, she can't do no wrong.
Right. Right. I mean, I guess that's the thing. I think in my head, I typecasted Emma. But the thing is, like, Emma is fantastic in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I feel like there's no excuse. She's great in that movie. I love her. And in there, she does have a couple of things with, like, her accent, but honestly, it doesn't even matter because she was so strong in that movie. And with this one, I just feel like, eh.
Right.
But also, I feel like Meg isn't my favorite sister anyway.
I know.
So.
But was that part of her? Like, I feel like I disagree with that a little bit because of the fact, like, is that her role? Like, what was her role in the movie?
Like,
Was
by
just to
design?
be- yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
She's
Her-
supposed to be like the sister that is
according
like,
to the book or the movie.
according to the movie, because I watched
Okay.
this 3 times. According to the movie, she's supposed to be the sister that kind of knew what it was like when they were rich before the war. She kind of misses being rich. She misses that life. She misses that lifestyle. But yet she falls in love with John and marries him, which she has that horrible scene where she's like, I'm tired of being poor. And I'm
Right.
like, girl,
And
that was
and in regards
bad.
to all that, I feel like there was enough in the movie to flesh that out.
Oh, yeah. I have nothing against Meg. I just don't like her.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
just a personal thing.
Okay, and it's the character you don't like, or her performance?
No,
as
no,
the
the
character?
character.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, not her performance. When I mean by she was the weakest, I think she's the weakest. Like, other ones were stronger, but that in no means that she was horrible, because she wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's just
okay.
not, she was just the weakest one out of all of them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that she was horrible. 'Cause she wasn't. She had some really nice moments. One of my favorite moments is when she has that moment with Joe, and Joe is like, she's about to get married. And Joe's like, run away with me. Like, you're going to be an actress. And then I'll write. And then you won't have to worry about getting married. And we'll live a free
Right.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she just kind of looks at her kind of like, okay, but that's not what I want.
Yeah,
I want to get
Mhm.
married, and I love John, and I want this life with him. And, just because my dreams are different than yours.
Yeah.
that
Just
doesn't
just because
mean-
my dreams are different than yours doesn't mean they're unimportant.
Right. And like that scene I really, really loved. So like I
Yeah.
said, Megan or Meg is my least favorite character. And I think that Emma was the weakest one, but that doesn't mean that it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that just shows that all the acting in this was amazing.
Yeah.
And Emma
yeah.
was just the weakest, but that doesn't mean it was bad.
Okay.
I guess, for clarification.
I just want to say, and I don't know if we're going in this direction, but if I was one of the sisters, I
Yeah.
would definitely be Meg. So that's why I feel personally offended.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was actually going to ask you guys that. Which sister did you guys relate to? Clearly,
Meg?
Josh is
I'm
like,
Beth.
yeah.
I'm Meg.
Yeah. I'm like, how
You're
dare you?
Beth.
I'm Beth because I'm dead.
Oh, no.
Just kidding.
Man. What about you, Hila?
Obviously, I love Amy. I'm
Oh.
pro Amy.
All right.
I feel like Joe, in my younger years, I would be like, oh my gosh, I love Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of issues with Joe,
Okay.
too. And even with Amy, don't get me wrong, she was really mean and spoiled and kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Especially when she's very vain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like growing up, you like the time that she burnt Joe's book,
Oh, dude.
page
Dude.
by page.
Dude.
That was
I was
crazy.
getting Midsommar flashbacks. Seriously, I was like,
right. Oh,
she's
that's
burning.
Right. You have
And
seen.
she wore a flower crown. I was like,
She did.
oh my god.
You're like
Yeah.
flashback.
I was like, don't put a man in a bear and burn him alive.
Oh yeah, I did see
Sorry,
that
spoilers
clip.
for
It's
Midsommar.
okay. I'm never gonna watch it.
I'm never watching that either. That's terrifying. I've seen enough videos on that movie. I don't need more.
But yeah, even though Joe, like I did like the character of Joe a lot.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
felt like
me
I
too.
understood like her motivations and like why she was the way she was. Like I thought that was really, really well done. So I totally get why Meg isn't like, Meg is, I
Yeah.
guess, compared to how that, Joe, the main character in quotes, was done,
Yeah,
Right.
I can see that.
So can you guys? Because okay, this is where we get to the part where I'm an idiot.
Okay.
Could you guys, like explain to me? Because throughout the movie, I was thinking this is all her life, right?
Oh, okay.
I wasn't thinking there was like a, I know she was writing something, but I only figured out that what she was writing, her life was towards the end,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
right? Or like the fiction, and so I didn't know what was, because there's a whole thing about there's a past and the present,
Yeah.
but then there's also what's fiction and what's not.
Yeah.
So I didn't. So the only thing I understood at the end was that a lot of that was a fiction. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
What was real and what wasn't. Is that part of the
Okay.
intrigue, or is that part of it? Like, oh, we don't know, as the audience. And I don't want to know anything about the book. I want you to explain the movie to me, not the book.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
The movie,
Uh-huh.
everything that we watched happened.
Okay,
She wrote a book at the end of everything that happened.
I see.
The only thing we as audience, based on the movie, don't know if it happened or not is her getting together with Frederick.
Uh-huh.
That's
At
the
the end.
one thing where we don't know if she did end up with him or not.
Okay.
Because at the end, he's like, what happened? She has to end up with somebody. And she's like, no, she doesn't.
Okay.
And then she was like, she has to end up with somebody. And that's when she asks. She's like, okay, well, you need to give me more money if I'm going to marry my main character to marry her off.
Yeah.
I better get money for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now this is when real life comes in. Greta put that in there specifically because the author who wrote Little Women actually
Lisa May
wrote it.
Alcott.
She wrote it about her own family.
Right.
Right? But the same thing happened in real life. They told her before she published the book, like, you need to make sure that Joe ends up with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she doesn't end up with somebody, nobody's going to buy this book. Nobody wants to read it. Nobody wants the main character, in this case, like Joe, the main one, to end up alone. Nobody wants that.
Right.
So Joe added Louisa May Alcott. Like, she added that
/
ending.
Greta Gerwig / Joe.
Right. So Greta added this to kind of give it a nod to the author.
Right.
And that's
I
why the end of if you see when her and Frederick get together, it's like, oh, it feels really out of place because it's like raining and the music, you know,
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
don't know if that really happened.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And that now understanding that elevates the movie.
Yes.
For me.
So everything else that happened technically did happen. It's not
Okay.
fiction. It did happen in Joe's life.
Yeah.
Except for the end.
Okay, so explain this part to me then. So everything happens until, let's say, that Frederick comes to the house.
Yes.
That happens
Yes.
in the story.
Yes.
You're right. Frederick comes to the house. He meets the family and he leaves.
Yeah.
Up until that point, that's when she changes it. in
Supposedly.
quotes,
Yeah.
quote unquote, she changes it. Okay, so then after that she goes back to New York and starts writing that book. Well, she wrote that at her house.
Wrote that at her house.
And then she went to New
Yeah.
York.
And then she sent it to the guy. Yeah.
Because the reason I ask is she met him in New York telling him about you got to change it and all that.
Yes. So the timeline itself, like, she already had worked with him before because she's been a writer this
Right.
whole time.
Yeah.
So when she finally had this book, it was after the whole, I think, what was it, when Beth passes away,
Mm-hmm.
she, like, doesn't want to write anymore. And then she sees the book which is for Beth. And then Beth wanted her to write this book, so she sat down, and that's when you see the super long montage of her.
Yeah, which I thought that was a cool scene.
Of her writing this book. It wasn't even the whole book; it was just chapter 1.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still though, the movie ends with her like with them opening a school or something.
Yes.
And like everyone's a happy family. You know.
That was chapter 1.
No,
It was like
well,
10,000 pages.
it was chapter
Or looked
1,
like it.
and then she sent it to the guy, and the guy's like, "Ew, no, I don't want this." And then they had like the cute little nod where like the daughters were reading it,
Right.
and they're like, "I want to know what happens." Did that happen? I don't think so, but.
So I really enjoyed that scene.
But it was cute.
Oh, where the kids
Yeah, the
are.
dialogue between the man and his wife. It's like, you never ask about my parents. It's like, I asked about your parents. And it's like, oh yeah, you're right about that, or something like that.
No,
like, oh yeah,
I think he
that
says,
was good.
He was like, I don't know why. I
Yeah,
don't know why
there
you
go.
do.
Yeah. I don't know why you do that. That was so funny.
It was kind of really funny too. And then the girl showed up like, Dad, what happens with the little women? And then he's like, what? And then that's when he starts off. He realizes that
it could sell.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of really, really quotable moments though, which I feel like it comes down to the book. I haven't read the book, but I'm sure a lot of the amazing dialogue had to have been in the book.
A lot of it.
There's so many quotes that I wrote down that I thought were like so great. I was like clapping at my laptop.
Okay.
There's one where it's like, Joe, your hair, you're one beauty, when she cut it off.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's really funny.
Amy.
And yeah, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. When the
Aunt March.
the aunt says that.
Yeah.
And then and the very climax. Oh, there's a couple others. If I was a girl in a book, this would all be too easy. I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
that's funny.
This movie was really meta in
Yeah.
like the way that it set up in the beginning of like all the girls need to be dead or married by the end of
Yeah.
it, or like moments like that, or like she's writing a book, like a lot of those moments. And then probably my favorite moment in the whole movie. Do you love him? If he asked me again, I think I would say yes. But do you love him? And I was like, and that scene in the attic with the mom and Joe, and I was like, oof, that hits right here.
Yeah.
It's like, how much are you willing to settle for a dream or try to become your best, self? And like that's what a lot of this movie comes down to. And a little, that's like the epitome of this story, where it's like, are you going to define yourself, or are you going to let yourself be taken up with what you think you want or what society thinks you want? Ugh.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things, I guess story-wise, right? I think this is when, because we've been talking about like the edges, right, of everything. I feel like this is a great segue to really focus on what this book is about, which is about these women set in the Civil War era, post-Civil War era, which is sadly... and this all comes from the book. This was written back then, and yet it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
And that's a little shocking. But, it is what it is. But one thing I like you mentioning that scene with Joe, and she's like... And that's a big... When it comes to the books and the movies, and in general, this fandom, as you might want to call it, everybody's, obsessed with the fact that Laurie and Joe didn't end up together, right? Because they were like, why didn't they end up together? They were so good.
Yeah.
But realistically, they weren't. They weren't good together. They wouldn't have worked out because Joe never wanted to get married, and that was something she said from the beginning. And when Laurie was like, I'll kill myself. Freaking Laurie. He's so extra.
Dude.
But Timothy did amazing as Laurie.
Killed it.
He was
killed it.
Good.
He was right on the edge of you despicable little you. Why do I love you so much? He was that perfect.
Did you fall in love with Timothy?
Actually, no. I went into this not liking Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, because of Lady Bird.
So so he won me over. I was like, man, this little brat, he don't know nothing about nothing. And by the end of it, I'm like, bro, you deserve better than Joe. Yeah, you go ahead,
Yeah,
man.
I did feel like that at the end. But then when he was trying to get Amy, I was like, get away from her.
You're not
bastard.
worthy.
No, get away from her. You're playing with her. And she told him, you're playing with me. And I was like, yeah, tell him.
Yeah.
I was angry, but then at the end, it's like, oh yeah, no, don't go with Joe. No, you guys, no. You'd be destructive with each other.
It would be bad.
So,
and
yeah.
that's the one thing, praise that a lot of people give, is the fact that Amy, she's my favorite character. Florence Pugh, you guys know she's my wife. I love her so much. She's such a great actress.
She is everything.
She's
That's
everything.
what people are saying nowadays. That's
She's
everything.
everything.
Yeah. Slay.
Obviously,
Queen.
aside from the fact that she was an older woman playing a little kid, let's take that out. We already discussed that. She played an amazing, bratty, spoiled, vain little girl.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She was so good at that,
great.
but also she was fantastic because little by little you kind of start to see the pressure that she's under.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's the one scene where this is the only quote I wrote. And it's like when she has to stay with Aunt March because, oh my gosh, Beth had scarlet fever.
Yeah.
Which, Beth, she's a sweetie pie. But anyway, I think, where is it? Oh my gosh, I can't find it.
Yeah, this movie did a really good job of letting the characters build and like the story,
it says,
like put the pressure on them. You know.
Yeah, it says it'll be up to you to support them all, right? She tells her like,
Right.
well, Joe
You're
is
the
a
family
lost
savior or
cause.
something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
Meg is in love with John.
Yeah.
He's nothing. Joe, there's no saving her.
Uh-huh.
And Beth, well, let's be honest, she might not make it. So you are the last thing that your family has. Pretty much saying if you don't get married rich, everyone's screwed. No pressure.
Right.
Right? So it's like, I feel like that moment, and like Florence Pugh played that so well because she was just sitting there. She's like a little girl. She sits down with her cute little braids. She tells her all of this heavy things. Everything's on your shoulders. And Florence Pugh just kind of, she doesn't move. She just stays there.
Yeah.
And then she like fixes a little braid and she's like, okay, you can go now. And she just gets up really
Okay,
slowly
yeah, it's
and
like-
walks away. And it's like, oh, your life just changed.
Yeah.
Which it kind of shows how when she's having those moments with Lori at like when they're older, and he was like, just who are you? Like, look at you. One of your mom's daughters would never marry somebody for money. How dare you be that person?
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, what the heck, bro?
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah.
say that because you're a dude and you're rich. Like, I don't have that choice. And I think the moment from when she went being this bratty little girl to like this very more focused, like if I have to be the best or nothing, and being self-aware of her shortcomings. She's like, I might not be the best artist, and that's fine. At least I tried.
Yeah.
And then she's like, that means that I have to keep going and find something else.
Yeah.
It's not like, for example, because Amy and Joe are foils of each other, right? That's kind of the point. So when Joe has a crappy criticism, she's like, I'm never drawing again.
Yeah, exactly. You're
And
right. Yeah.
Amy is like, well, I'm not the best. Nobody told her, but she knew. She was like, I'm not the best artist. What, you know what? It is what it is. I have to keep going.
Yeah.
I have to keep moving. And that's what she was going to marry the guy. And also that's what she told Lori off. Kind of like, no. And that's when I'm assuming who would applaud. Because it was like, I love you. And she's like, no.
So you were talking about your wife, okay?
Yeah.
I need to talk about my wife.
I thought we were going to say your husband, Timothy Chalamet.
No. Which I want you to see this series of notes that I took.
Okay.
I don't know how much this reveals about me personally over the movie, but take it for what it is. Here's the first line. Beth has a creepy little puppet baby. And then the next line is, ugh, she's my type. And then in all caps, dang it, she's gonna die, isn't she?
That's funny.
That is really funny.
I had it's like 3 realizations, one after another, and there's like at her funeral or whatever, all the sisters are crying, and then they're like, Beth was the best of us, and I was like, you're damn right, she was.
Dang. Yeah, Beth actually won me over this time around. She was really sweet. This actress is in Sharp Objects with Amy
Really?
Adams.
I didn't know that.
Plays a very, very different character.
Wow.
Very different. And probably one of the things, I think the only times I did cry in this movie was because of Beth. And weirdly enough, it wasn't when she died. It was 2 times. One of them was when she went to hug Mr. Lawrence after the piano, because she's so shy and she would never do that. But in that moment, she just went straight to him, and then she's like, oh, like, thank you, and she was like really overwhelmed with shyness, but she still hugged him, and I was like, oh, my heart.
Yes.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
It was just a moment where I was like, oh, Beth,
You remind me so much of my little girl.
I know. I was like, oh, Beth. And then when
man.
Mr. Lawrence sat on the stairs listening to her play, and he was just crying, and I'm like, oh, my heart.
Yeah.
And the other scene was
And then
when...
she died too, man. Oh, my God. Bro, can't catch a break.
I know. And then when her and Joe are at the beach, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the last big moment they have before she dies, where it's like, oh, no. Like, we know she's going to die. But that moment where Joe's like, you're going to get better. I made you feel better once. And, like you get that sense of being the older sister with your younger sister, right? Like, I guess that's kind of, it was for me. Like, you care so much for your younger sibling that you could do anything to make them feel better.
Yeah.
And
like,
in that
we're
moment,
going to take you to the doctor, by the shore or like, in the South or wherever. I don't know. But
right. And it's like, you see, like, especially because Joe is such a strong-willed person.
Yeah.
She's like, I got this because I say so. But it's like, that's not how life works. And it was just so sad because it's like, she's going to die, but Beth knows she's going to die too, and she accepted it.
Yeah.
She's like, I know I'm going to die, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that. I don't mind that I died, and especially because she got sick being a good person.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about the Hummels. And she's like, no, but we have to go help them.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
She's like, fine, I'll go by myself.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the baby died in her arms.
It's tragic.
So when she got sick and Saoirse Ronan, they show her Joe. They show her character, the close up on her eye. She wakes up. She goes downstairs and her sister's there.
Yeah.
And she hugs her. That was the first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
She got sick.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they
And
did
then
it
she
again
got
right
really
after.
sick. Yeah. And she wasn't
And then
there.
she wakes up. The close up on her eye. She wakes up.
Yeah.
And
That
she
was-
goes downstairs and she's like, okay. So
Yeah. That
there,
was
'cause
my
they put it
least
next to each
favorite
other.
scene, though.
Really?
Because I kind of got what they were trying to do with the parallels, but my logic is like, wait, I'm confused.
Is it like, oh, was she dreaming it type of thing?
Yeah, I know why they did it like that, because they wanted to connect the timelines, but
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, at this point, obviously we nitpick, but I didn't like how, like, she opened her eyes and it's like she's not there, goes down, and she's doing great. And then the second time she opens her eyes again, and then she's gone. But it's like, if she passed away, you should have already known by the time you opened your eyes, right? Like, it's not like they took Beth's body while she was sleeping.
Right.
Just logically
Her mom
speaking,
came to check on her. She's dead, and she carried her out, and she slept through the whole thing. Type of
That's kind of what
thing.
I
Like
mean.
they wouldn't wake her up.
Yeah, I just didn't like that. It just didn't make sense to me personally,
Yeah.
but maybe
I think
I'm
I
nitpicking.
think they were just going for the parallels,
Yeah,
like you were
that's
saying.
exactly
Yeah,
what they
so
did.
I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was whatever, but
Yeah.
Right.
it wasn't my favorite part, I guess.
I can agree with that. I didn't.
Yeah. So I guess overall, I mean, I have a lot of notes. Actually, one thing I really liked that I'm looking at it right now was both. I said I put here. I'm like, both March sisters with Lori. Okay, he confessed to Joe, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I love you," whatever, and she's just like, "No, like, no." When I was rewatching it this time around, Amy said the same thing the exact same way.
Huh.
It was weird.
Wow.
Like when like he just looks at her, he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
He looks at her,
Yeah.
and Joe looks at him, and she's like, "No, like no, we're not doing this, no," because you kind of knew.
Yeah.
And I actually really like that because, realistically speaking, when you know there's that tension, you just know.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
a lot of
have
the
to-
dialogue was just oozing with that longing. There were so many
Right.
moments of like, they're just playing, we're just playing, and then it's like, it's like it turns a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And the same
Yeah.
thing with Amy, because like you could kind of see when he starts liking her a little bit more, because I think that's kind of like the
Dude, he
one...
was like trying to stunt on the other guy. He was like, "Oh, the great and powerful, whatever." His
Mr.
name.
Blah blah.
Yeah, I threw the thing at, like, bro, that was like,
that's embarrassing.
dude, that's some serious. Take some serious like either you've got to be like a huge a-hole or like seriously committed to like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like trying to get in the middle of that, you know. So
yeah, because
and at first I was like, wow, this guy's
a jerk.
yeah, he's the worst. But then like in hindsight I was like, oh, he's like trying to make a statement to her. Like I didn't see it that way, you know.
Because at that point he leaves. Okay, and this is one of the things that also wasn't too clear when it comes to the timeline. Like, technically, he's supposed to go to Europe right after Joe breaks it off, whatever. Not breaks it off, but like pretty much says like, I'm not marrying you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like that. I don't love you like that, you weirdo. Like, you should have known this. He leaves to Europe, right? So that's when he eventually sees Amy. But it's supposed to be a couple, like a year or so after not seeing anybody. He's just like wandering around in Europe, and then he sees Amy. And then they're like, whoa, because she's already been there for a while when the movie starts, right? I think that's kind of like, oh, we're leaving soon, whatever.
Yeah, it was
and
all kind of fuzzy. Yeah, when
right.
they go
So
back and
that
forth,
to me, it's a little confusing because I feel like it makes it seem like Laurie is obviously settling for Amy, which is not the case, right? Because at the end, when they have that conversation, when he kind of says like, "Oh, my wife," and Joe's like, your wife?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, yeah, we got married."
That was so intense, and you didn't know which way Joe was gonna go,
right?
You know, with it.
Does that mean they got married very quickly?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't, that's when I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if they said this in the movie, and I know you don't want me to mention the book, but
no, it's fine here because it would explain why it was rushed, and we're not supposed to lean on the book.
Right. But like I said, I don't remember, but Aunt March got sick. And that's when they found out that Beth passed away. So then Amy was going to come, but she couldn't come unchaperoned. So then Laurie was going to come.
Yeah.
Company, but because they're unmarried, they couldn't be together alone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that wasn't mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they technically couldn't be together alone.
Right.
So they got married, so that was just easier. That way they could travel back.
Right.
So that's why they got married.
Right. Okay.
I mean,
if you're like a historian, that's probably like, oh yeah, that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
But like me, for example, I'm not, and so I'm.
Yeah, I was like, they were overcome with love for each other and got married. That was
so,
what I put in my head. Yeah, I was like, okay.
No,
that was confusing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I know there's a couple things there because I love Laurie and Amy together. I think they're awesome, but I feel like sadly because of time, they couldn't.
But then also there's the other side. Like if he would have explained it, it would be like, oh, thanks for exposing that to me, expositional dialogue. And
right.
Telling
me,
we had to get married because we couldn't be alone together.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be kind of weird for the characters to say. So
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like you said, nitpicking, but that's why they got married quickly, because that way they got married and they could safely travel back to America without anybody being like, oh my gosh, they're unmarried and they're together. Right. It's like, no, they're husband and wife. They're allowed to travel together.
Yeah.
But by that point, she literally turned someone else down. So I feel like if they didn't get married ASAP, it wasn't gonna happen.
The scene where Amy and Joe see each other after that, and like there's this tense moment of like Amy's like, is Joe gonna be mad? You know.
There's a lot going on. Like Beth died, and we have this thing between each other.
For real.
Yeah.
But it's like the character growth. I was like, oh my God. Because, like, Joe's like, we can't let anything divide us as sisters. Or, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I think that ending of this movie was, like, the most powerful, I think. Because everything came down together. It was like Joe had the moment with the mom saying, like, women can do so many things, but I'm so lonely that sometimes I don't even care. I'll get married and settle down because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be lonely. And that's like one of the things where a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Joe and Laurie, like I said, they shouldn't have been together. But she was going to settle for Laurie. Nobody wants somebody that they settle with, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Laurie would have been happy if Joe settled for him. Like, what the heck? Like, I feel like that's something that people don't tend to realize, that it's like, no, like, Joe was literally about to settle for Laurie. Like, she didn't even love him like that. But she was just like, might as well. Beth is dead, so...
Yeah. There's a lot going on. So, but I thought that was a good resolution to it, too.
Another thing I really, really loved is the making of the book. Because I know that one of the things that the director said about this is that Joe's romance was with the book. It wasn't with a man. It wasn't. It was with her in the book.
Okay.
And her writing this book. So the moment at the end where
Yeah.
she sees her book being made and she holds it in her hands,
Yeah.
like that is Joe's moment of like happily ever after.
That was so triumphant.
true.
That was
Because
so
it's like
triumphant.
in that moment she's like, this is her book. She wrote this. She spent the hours and the time and all of this stuff to write this book.
Yep.
And I thought that was a really beautiful moment because I was like, oh, Joe, she did it.
How did the deal end? She got 30%.
She kept the rights
kept
to her book. Yeah.
Yeah.
She got 30% of the of something.
I think it was like 16%.
Yeah, she kept the rights, but she didn't get. You know how usually when you write a book, you get like the beginning before when you first sell it, you get money. So she's like, okay, you keep that. I don't need that money. I keep my characters, you know, but I think it was like what 7% or something like that.
Yeah.
It was not that high.
It wasn't high. Okay.
Because they were like 5%, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah.
She was like, I'm not getting 5% if I'm gonna. That's what she said.
I think
if
it
I'm
was
gonna
like
sell
5.6. I mean 6.5. I think is what
something
they
like
ended
that.
it.
Yeah, it was like they were trying to go back and forth because she
Yeah.
had said 10.
And then she went down, and then 9. Yeah, they were haggling,
Yeah.
and then I think it ended at 6.5.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
only 6%. Damn, that sucks.
Right.
But you know.
But it is hers.
Yeah, but it's hers exactly.
Yeah, so that's good.
That's what they're like. Oh, this is how much you get in the
And
copyright.
she was gonna sell it for like, what was it, 500 or something like that. It was like like what? That's it? Even though it would help her family, but still, like, that's it, 500. Or I don't know, I don't remember the number. It was like a number.
It was 500. That's what she said. No, you keep your 500 and I keep my characters. And then this is how much percentage I'm going to get for these books.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I love this movie. I have a lot of cry emojis because of this movie and how amazing it is, because of the feeling that I get watching it. Right. It has everything I could ever want. It has strong leading characters. It has romance. It has
books.
Realistic. Yeah, it has books. It has realistic portrayal of men and women, right? Because even Laurie was like, we didn't talk a lot about him, but Laurie was like this sad little boy all by himself.
Yeah.
And then he meets the March sisters, and then his life changes completely.
Yeah.
Right?
He's an accessory to their story, you know?
Right.
Where it's like, it's not about him, but he's, even the guys and the older people, everybody is like, you know, fleshed out, like real feeling people.
Exactly. Yeah, like little things, or you can see how playful he can be, but also how lonely he also is. That's why he loves going over to their house and spending time with them. And then when you see the parallels with like them having dinner, like the grandpa, John, and him all quiet, lonely, and then the girls walk in and it's like a huge craziness.
Yeah.
And then they leave and it's like, oh, what the heck? What happened?
Yep. Back to work.
Yeah, so I really, there's a lot of things obviously we can talk about, but I did love this movie, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's a strong recommendation for me, for anyone who likes period pieces or female empowerment, for sure.
I want to talk about the boring stuff if we have time.
Oh, we're gonna have to cut it there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about sound mixing.
Oh. Wow.
And we can leave it here at the end. That way, people you can just skip it if you want. Okay. And it's something that it's both a negative and a positive. Mm-hmm. And I'll explain. Like, there's something that bothers me in movies that nowadays I watch older movies and I'm like, I hate that ADR. I hate that dubbing right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
it happens in this movie, but in a way that it's like I notice it, but someone who wouldn't know, they wouldn't care. And I also want to know what technique they use nowadays in filmmaking, where they dub over the voice, but it's clearly like very well synchronized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you remember any of those scenes? What?
Because there's scenes wherein the camera pans out and there's no way there's a boom mic.
You know what? Now that you say that,
And also, I don't see any wire.
I do remember seeing a couple scenes where like they cut the spaces out between the dialogue a little bit to make the scene kind of shorter or make it go faster. Now that you mention it, it did jog my memory a little bit.
Like what I mean specifically is like there's scenes where they're walking on the field, but I hear the dialogue like it's in my ear.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But there's no boom mic on top of them, or like where's the mic hidden?
Yeah.
So it has to be dubbed. Or what is the technique that they're using? And the reason it bothers me is because I can notice, because it's like there's no mic next to your mouth.
Yeah.
Or near you. So how are you getting that sound? Are they using like FBI technology to get?
It could be a directional mic from a distance.
Okay, because and also you're outside, because I've seen other film when you're walking outside in the field and you're getting the sound because they have to yell.
Yeah.
For you to be able to get the sound, and also because in a natural environment you have to speak louder if there's a bunch of wind.
Yeah.
So then we hear what they hear, right?
Yeah.
But here they're walking in the field and they're talking normally like this, but it sounds like it's like in my ear.
Timothée Chalamet's little baby voice is right in your ear.
Exactly. So I was wondering how they did that. Were they dubbing it? And also, when they dubbed it, they did a good job at making it well synchronized, but I can still tell.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know what the technique was.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. As in, like, the way I mean it is a both negative, as in I can notice it, but a positive because it's like someone who didn't notice it wouldn't care. And,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I guess I don't think about it.
Well, that's why it's just like a technical thing.
But
It
that's
wasn't
cool.
not
My guess
anything
is that
I think that's cool.
there's a very little woman hiding
Oh,
in the grass.
so Greta meant to make it that way.
Yeah.
So that we know.
My guess would be like one of those directional mics or some dubbing.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, now that you say that, it did.
I think it
If
was
you were to
definitely
rewatch
dubbing,
it, I
though.
feel like you would notice it.
Yeah,
now,
I feel
now
like
that we
now
said
I
it.
do. The thing for me, I don't notice things like that, but I like learning about them because I think that's really cool. I didn't even know what sound mixing was, I'm going to be honest, until I heard everyone talk about it, Tenet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I saw everyone talk about like the sound mixing
there's
of
like
Tenet.
sound mixing, sound design,
Yeah.
And
sound
then
this,
I
sound
was
that.
like, what
Yeah.
is
Sound
that?
editing is the other
And then
one.
I watched a couple videos on it, and I'm like, that's what sound mixing is?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it now. And then
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of videos about like Christopher Nolan and his specific way of
Yeah,
sound
he has
mixing and
his
things
style
like that.
where he likes it to be like, he likes the score to be up there, the environmental noise to be up there, and he'll still have characters like talking through walkie-talkies or like whispering to each other, and then the audience is like, huh, wait, what?
I should have seen Tenet with subtitles, but
And there were a lot of crazy accents in Tenet too. On top of that, so
That's
it's like,
right. Robert
aw.
Pattinson looked amazing. That's why I watched it, and it was great.
I like the score of the film, Little Women.
Oh, Tenet.
No, Little Women. I enjoyed the
Me
score a lot.
too.
It was nice.
It's so good.
Definitely complimented the film very
It was
well.
a cozy, Christmassy feel
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that's what I said. Christmas movie. But yeah, I love the score too. I actually have the score for Amy, called Amy when Amy.
Oh,
That's
huh.
my my alarm to wake up to.
That's really peaceful.
Because it's like really nice to wake up, and then it's like
Mhm.
it's really nice. I love that. I
And
love the score.
I like Lady Bird.
I do too. I think
So,
it's
but
great.
for different reasons why I would like this movie.
Uh-huh.
Like, I like that the Lady Bird characters are despicable in their own way,
Mm.
and that these characters are more likable for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very good contrast between different films that Greta can make.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I
That is
am a fan
true.
of Lady Bird. It has its negatives too. I can nitpick that movie as well, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the great thing about, an up and coming director like her, that she can
Yeah,
make.
I'm definitely
these
looking forward to
things.
see what else she's got.
I
In
agree.
the pipeline.
Because I know her first film was Frances Ha, and I haven't seen that.
That one's been on my list for ages.
I have it
yeah.
on my
I
list.
like that movie a lot.
Great.
I'm
I
gonna have
did.
to check it
No,
out.
like it's amazing. No, but
Yeah.
I think that's her
was her
directorial debut,
first,
so
yeah.
that's why I like it a lot, because of what you get. So I definitely that's a strong recommendation.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I look forward to more work from her for sure, and I feel like there's a little bit of a theme of the actors she's working with, right? Because Lady Bird had Saoirse Ronan and Timothy,
Mhm.
and then this Little Woman as well. I don't know if she's gonna continue on, kind of pull a Leo Scorsese type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
It
I mean,
happens.
it could work out. I don't see why not. It
Yeah.
could be cool. Anyway, so I think that's all I have to say. I mean, I had other notes, but I like this conversation we had for
Great.
sure.
Yeah, it was a good time, a good recommendation.
I like talking about it. You guys explained some things to me that I didn't get. I watched this movie 2 days ago.
Oh,
Oh, so
I
it's fresh.
haven't had that much time to think
I
about
watched-
it. And I didn't know anything whatsoever about
Gotcha.
the book, author, nothing about the film. So, and I also didn't like research anything, or I wanted you guys to be the ones to
yeah,
Right.
dude, it's our
explain it to
pleasure.
me. So, yeah, definitely the movie has been elevated for me, and definitely I would recommend it. It made me finishing the movie. It's very different from this movie, but because Saoirse Ronan's in it, I really like the movie Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yes, I want to watch that movie.
And I definitely recommend you watching Brooklyn. It's like, it's a movie that the whole time you just feel great. It's just a nice movie. That's it. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say, oh my gosh, it has its ups and downs, and like, as in like in story and character development, even though it does, but it's just a nice movie. That's it.
Great.
It's not like this whole dramatic thing.
Yeah,
It's just
cool.
a nice movie.
Sounds like I've got my work cut out for me. I've got to watch Brooklyn, Frances Ha, and Tenet.
You've seen
I'm
Tenet?
just kidding.
Frances Ha, I think she co-wrote that
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
right?
that must
Okay,
have been
so
I
it.
believe
that's
so,
great.
yeah.
But
But
that's all I have to say.
awesome. Yeah, I watched this movie like a little bit before Thanksgiving, so it's been a while.
Mm.
And I probably won't watch it again. That's the thing. The movies that I love, I don't watch them often. I've only watched Black Swan like 4 times.
You don't want to spoil it?
I mean,
I just want to see if I like them.
I don't want to revisit Schindler's List either, and I really like that movie.
Oh, that's my go-to. Netflix and chill.
No, I have
That's a
yet to
movie I
watch that
love,
movie.
but I don't want to revisit.
There's a book, right?
Schindler's List?
Yeah. I'd rather read the book than watch it.
Oh, okay.
There's a list.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Anyway, I think this
On
wraps
that
it
note,
up.
yeah.
Yep, I think this is it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for. Oh wait, you guys are not watching. But anyway, follow us on the socials.
Yeah.
IG. We have Twitter too, but I don't use it. I don't like Twitter.
I'm sorry.
It's on there though. But anyway, Instagram. Follow us. We probably follow you back.
Letterboxd.
Letterboxd as well. I will be
Yeah.
adding those.
Yippee-ki-yay,
I think
Mr.
by-
Falcon. That's mine.
That's right. I think by now I probably added them, so just look through the feed. It should be on there. And I think that's it, right? Anything else?
That's all.
All right. Well, I'll see
You're
you.
loved.
Yes.
Yeah. God bless.
Have a good time, guys. Stay safe. Goodbye.